Your first test often can be a challenge since you've never seen how I teach. Anybody leave bus pass? I found a bus pass. Okay. The first test can be kind of hard, but hopefully you'll prepare yourself and do really, really well. And of course, it's really devastating if you don't do good on the first test because that's like the only grade in the grade book, right? So it's essentially your grade. Whatever you get on the first test is kind of your grade. All right, so here we go. Polynomials. Again, hopefully this is really review for you, hopefully. So example 1, perform the indicated operations. Example 1, perform the indicated operations. Okay, what operation are we doing in letter A? Subtraction. Yeah, there's a big subtract right in there. I don't know why, but a lot of people have super hard time with subtracting two polynomials, and that's essentially what we're looking at here. We have one polynomial. Does anyone know what that means? So do you know like polytheism? Have you heard that? Multiple like religions? Yeah. Multiple gods? Yeah. Uh-huh. And so poly, that word poly, translates to many. And nomial technically translates to names, but in math we translate it to terms. So polynomial means many terms. And you can see we've got 7x squared, a negative 2x, and a negative 4. So we have 3 terms. That'd be many terms. So you might have heard monomial. Monomial, what would monomial mean? 1 term. And binomial, 2 terms. Okay, and then we go to polynomial. Sometimes we say trinomial. So we could say this is another trinomial, 3 terms. And whenever you have like just a term with x to some lovely little whole number power, then that's a polynomial. So we've got some polynomials. Now, what do we need to do with this subtraction sign? Distribute it. Very good. Definitely need to share the wealth there on that negative sign. And once I do that, do I need these parentheses anymore? No. 7x squared minus 2x minus 4. Negative times 3x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative times 7x is negative 7x. And negative times negative 1, positive 1. I don't know why I wrote a 7. Positive 1. So again, if you want, you can think about it as a negative, or you can think about distributing a negative 1 to each term. So negative 1 times negative 1 gives us that positive 1. And then what do you have to do from this point? Simplify, combine like terms? Yeah. So 7x squared is friends with what? Negative 3x squared, which would be 4x squared. Very good. And then negative 2x is friends with negative 7x, and that makes negative 9x's. Very good. And then we have negative 4 and a 1, which makes negative 3. And that's a beautiful little polynomial. There's your answer. Great. Okay, what's the operation we need to do on letter B? Multiplication, yes. So we are going to multiply our polynomials. Gotta distribute. This is distributing a monomial, distributing a single term. All right, let's see. So we're going to do 3x squared times 2x squared. What's that give you? 6x to the 4th. Very good. So again, if you think about it, we just did this last week, 3x squared times 2x squared. We multiply your coefficients, and then we have x squared times x squared. They have the same base, so we're adding the exponents, and that's why the exponents change. Over here, they don't change. We stay the same when we add or subtract. All right, so then we're going to distribute 3x squared times negative 5x is negative 15x to the third. Very good. And then 3x squared times 3. 9x to the second. Beautiful. Okay, hopefully all that was old hat to you, right? Good? Okay. Super. So we have x plus 2 times the quantity y plus 5. X plus 2 times the quantity y plus 5. This is a binomial times a binomial. There's lots of ways you can do multiplication with polynomials. So I'm going to show you on the next one, a nice graphic organizer. How do you guys like to do a binomial times a binomial? Distribute. Yeah, FOIL. FOIL is the word. Yeah, you might know FOIL. That only works on a binomial times a binomial. So we don't really like to use that word too often, but distribute, it's really just distributing. We're going to take our x and distribute it to the y and the 5. So we're going to multiply. X times y is xy. And then x times 5 is 5x. And then we're going to distribute that positive 2. And we're going to distribute that positive 2 to both terms in the next bubble. I call these bubbles. Have you heard me say that before? Do you see the bubbles? And we'll talk about popping bubbles and double bubble. It's super fun. Okay. All right. So 2 bubbles here. All right. So we're going to do 2 times y and get 2y. And we're going to do 2 times 5 and get 10. Are any of these like terms? No. So just like that, and we're done. All right. Of course, if there were like terms, you'd want to add like terms. So you can do the same thing with letter D. This is a binomial times a trinomial. Binomial times trinomial. It's really just, I like to call it super distribution because you've got to distribute to all 3 terms. And we'd also have to distribute the negative 2 to all 3 terms. So how many terms would you get in your expansion here? 6 terms. And then you'd look for like terms and you'd add them up. But I want to show you another way that you can multiply. And I really love this method, and I encourage you to do it because I think when you get like trinomial times trinomial, that's a lot of terms. It's 9 terms. You can get lost. Okay? So what I like to do is I like to create a box, a rectangle. And it doesn't matter how you do this necessarily, but I'm going to put 3 terms along the top, x squared, negative 3x, and that positive 4. So there's one polynomial. And what we're really doing is we're multiplying this length times a width. So I'm going to write my 2 other terms here, a positive x and a negative 2. Do you see what I did there? And so then each term gets its own little box, and basically we're calculating an area. All right, so I'm just going to multiply each piece and fill in all the boxes and then add them up. So I'm going to say, what is x squared times x? X cubed. So we're just multiplying these things together. Maybe I won't use x. We don't use x because we use x as times, big dot. That was funny. All right. Negative 3x times x. Negative 3x squared. And 4 times x. 4x. And then x squared times negative 2. Negative 2x squared. Negative 3x times negative 2. Positive 6x. And then 4 times negative 2. Negative 8. And what's really cool, and this is like the coolest part, I think, is that you'll notice how the like terms line up. We have an x cubed, and look at there. Right on the diagonal, negative 2x squared and a negative 3x squared makes negative 5x squared. And then here we have a 6x and a 4x, and that makes 10x. And then the very last thing is a negative 8. So our product is x cubed minus 5x squared plus 10x minus 8. And I don't care which way you do it, whether you distribute or whether you use this method. Today I'm going to show you how to divide using this method. Because once we learn how to multiply, then we'll go and divide as well. Okay? And so if you get good at this, then dividing goes really easily too. Okay? Do you have questions for me? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's it. Yep. You may get started on number 8. Oh, I want to say one thing. Sorry. You can get your book. Well, okay, hold on. So my lovely aide, Sasha,